Okay, so direct variation. Direct variation is one of those topics that we really didn't cover. It was like maybe one day at most, but it's one of the much simpler topics that we could ever cover. Keywords. Keywords that you want to look for is where it says varies directly or directly proportional. Now, with those two phrases, what is the one thing they have in common? Direct. Correct, directly, whichever way you want to say it. Now, it does have that phrase in this problem. Which one is it though? Which phrase does it use? Does it use varies directly or directly proportional? Varies directly. Now, anytime you're thinking of a proportion, what do most students think? How do you solve a proportion? You set two fractions equal to each other, good. How do you solve whenever you set two fractions equal to each other? It's a proportion. We're gonna set it up to where we have three numbers and we're looking for the fourth. Thank you. 9 out of 10 students would say the word butterfly, which I hate. What? Those of you that are actually planning to go to college, do not expect your teacher to bust out, use butterfly. Nah, they ain't gonna do that. So here's how we set up that proportion. The hardest part of this, honestly, is setting it up. First thing you want to do is you want to find the variables. What two different variables are there? What two different topics are we discussing here? Centimeters and seconds. Now, it doesn't matter if you put the centimeters on top, seconds on the bottom, or seconds on top, centimeters on the bottom. Which way do you want to do it? You tell me.
C over S. C over S.
Yeah.
We're going to put centimeters at the top just because that's the first variable they give us, and then seconds on the bottom. So any number that represents seconds is going to go here at the bottom. Any number representing centimeters goes at the top. And you want to fill in your fractions, your two fractions, in order from left to right. So I'm going to take that first number, 264. That represents what? Centimeters. So is that going to go on the top or the bottom? Top. So 264. The next number that they give us is the number 11. That represents? So seconds goes on the bottom. 11. And the very last number they give us is 408 what? So that's going to go where? Top. Top and on the right, because remember, you want to fill it in from left to right. So fill in this first fraction, fill in the left fraction first, and then figure out what value they give you, the top one or the bottom one. Now we know which one our unknown is. We're looking for X, okay? Now, Eduardo told us how to solve it. How do we solve it? What do? Cross multiply. So you're going to multiply the diagonal. Just go ahead and circle and multiply the diagonal. And what does it give you? 4488. After that, you only have how many numbers left over? You divide by that last number. Put a little division sign there. So divide by 264. And what does that give you? 17. That's your answer. That's it. Wow.
That's pretty simple.
Pretty simple. Good stuff. I'm actually going to show you guys some tricks, and that's going to be awesome today. I think so. I didn't say I think so because of your comment, but I was saying I think. Thank you for that though. What's up? Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry. No, I thought I heard.
Yes.
No, I heard cross multiply, but I thought I heard it in Eduardo's voice. I'm sorry. But that whole discussion is now recorded on video. All right, here we go. When you're solving one variable equation, meaning you have an equation, it's an equation because there's an equal sign. Look at that equation. How many different letters, how many different variables do you see? There's only one letter. There's only one variable, and that variable is y. So what do these answer choices represent? Your y values. So we're going to write that in. Possible y's. I'm just going to put possible. Your possible y's. And I'm saying possible because only one of them is going to actually work. Okay. Now, because they are possible y's, what can I do with these? Substitute. You can store them. So I can store them for a y value. You can store them. Much easier way to do this. All right, here we go. Oh, It's all right. So the very first answer choice that we got is what? -1/2. So I'm going to type in my negative alpha y equals 1/2. Store it as a y, alpha 1. Okay, make sure you're paying attention to which variable you need to type in. Okay. And then after that, we can type in the equation exactly the way we see it. Not an x, a y, my bad. Y -3. I think the hardest part, or one of the things that a lot of people confuse, is your minus sign and your equal sign, minus and negatives. So when you have a mixture of minus and negatives in the same equation, you can actually see the difference in the size. A negative will be a smaller, minus sign will be a longer dash. 2y plus 3 plus 7. And what does that first answer choice give us? Gives us 0. That was a long thing to type in. But after you type it once, after you type it down, type it in the calculator one time, after that, it's just downhill because you just get to highlight it and press enter. So the next answer choice is 1/2. We're going to store that one as a y. So store alpha 1. And since I'm too lazy to type this all over again, just going to highlight it. And that one gives us what? 0. So also wrong answer choice. -2. Oops, wrong thing. There we go. Oh man, falling apart here. There it is. -2 stored as your y value. Enter, enter. And that one gives you your 1. You're welcome. All right. The next example is actually right below this. This example, what's wrong with it or what's different about it? You have to find it yourself because what happened? There's no answer choices. So I don't have numbers that I can actually plug in. There's still an easy way to do this. Hang on. The way that we do this one or the way that we solve this one also works with the one that we did above. So let's go ahead and write that in. This also works with example above. The steps that we do to solve this one also works with the one that we just did, but not the other way around. Because the only way to do substitution is if you actually have an answer choice to substitute. Okay, so the steps for this one are on the next page of your foldable. The very first step says to type the left side of the equation into what? So into y1, So I'm gonna actually underline, I'm gonna set this up first for myself and then I'll start typing. And then it says to type the right side of the equal sign or the right side of the equation into y2. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna figure out what I need to type first and then go into y equals and do that. Clear that out. Anything you already have in there because other classes have been using this. All right, so 34x plus 95. And then 3 times 14x plus. All right, now just hit graph, press graph. Now mine might look different than yours. To put it in the standard screen, you want to press zoom. 6 is standard. 6 is like the, I don't know. Your calculator should be reset whenever you receive them. So this is probably the first type of window you're going to see. It goes from -10 to 10, -10 to 10. So that's just a standard window. Most graphs go from -10 to 10. But what do we see? 2 straight lines, right? Whenever we have 2 straight lines on the same graph, what are we trying to figure out? If they what? Intersect. Now you can't see where these 2 intersect. So I need to make it to where I can see that. You can use zoom out, but there's another option, zoom fit. I like to use zoom fit whenever possible because zoom fit will make sure that you can see everything you need to see. And there it is. So now you should be able to see where the 2 lines cross. Now we have to figure out what that point is, right? So to calculate it, the word calculate is in blue, so we have to press second trace. And if we're trying to figure out where they cross, what option are we gonna use? 1 or 5, intersection. The thing I like about this feature, the 5, is that you don't have to move the star. You just press enter 3 times. And there it is. But now you got to decide what number you're going to bubble in. What variable are we looking for? Are we looking for X or Y? X. So we bubble in 8.5. Serious? You should push enter 3 times. Does it say intersection? Okay. So 8.5. Okay. And in your notes, just write the 8.5 in there. All right, now we have inequalities. Inequalities, you're going to treat them very, very similar than as you would an equation, okay? You're going to treat an inequality the same way you would treat an equation, even though we have that greater than or less than symbol. You're always going to use the equal sign first. Highlight that. You're always going to use the equal sign first. Because 9.5 out of 10 times, you're going to be able to find that answer just by using the equal sign. I don't think I've gone through the last 6 years of STAR tests, and I haven't had to actually use the inequality unless I'm doing shading, which is what I showed you yesterday, and that's only used in Y equals. So you want to change it to an equal sign. I'm going to go ahead and do that here. Okay. Now, they're giving us answer choices to type in, and we have an equation, so we can substitute, we can store them for X. Store them for X. So I'm going to go ahead and store that very first answer choice, 5, store, oh Lord, falling apart here, 5 store X. And then you type your equation with an equal sign, not the inequality. If you use you can use the inequality, but if you use the inequality, chances are you're gonna have to go back and use the equal sign again. So second, 5x plus 55. And that one gives us what? 0 equals 0. Not it. Next, 45. 45 store x. Enter, enter. That one gives us, not it. And -5, store x. 1. Are you typing it all over again every time? Yes. Now, if it is an inequality, you have to do all the answer choices because there's that very, very small percentage of a chance that you will get 2 1s. And if you get 2 1s, then you have to go back and use the inequality that time. But once again, I said very, very small chance. 0. Okay. So if it's an inequality, just make sure you do that, please. Ready? Same thing. This time we don't have answer choices to plug in. So how do we solve this? You do this in Y equals. You're going to put one side of it into Y1, the other side of it into Y2. If you don't have numbers to plug in, you're going to have to use Y equals. So the left side is 5 times 3 minus X. The right side is -2X plus 6. Oh man, I put it all on the same line. Why didn't y'all tell me?
I have a question.
Yes.
When we do that, like when we store it,
Uh-huh.
and then we go to Y equals, I always like reset my whole calculator.
That's fine.
Because I feel like, okay, does it not take the store with it?
Not in Y equals, no.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Now, you can vaguely see where they cross. That's still okay. I'm not going to reset my screen to make sure I can zoom in or whatever. I don't have to. As long as you can see that they're crossing, you're good. If it makes you feel better, you can reset the calculator, do it again. But if you're in a standard screen, it would look like this and you would really be able to see where they cross there. But let's go ahead and calculate. So second trace, number 5. Enter, enter, enter. And what do we get?
3.
We get 3, 0. But which value are we looking for, the 3 or the 0? The 3. So x equals 3. 3 is the number that I'm going to bubble in. Now, please, please, please do not be this person. I've had one person the whole month that wants to bust out with this. Hold up. You got your griddable, right? We got that 3. No, they did this. There's no X in the griddables. There's no equal sign in the griddables. If there's a decimal, if it was, say it was 3.0, okay, yes, I understand that. But there's no X and there's no equal in the griddable, okay? You're not gonna have anything to bubble in. I wasn't even thinking about you, but cool. All right, next. You just threw your own self under the bus on that one. All right, here we go. Here we go. Which inequality is equivalent? Okay. Now we have learned a calculator trick with the word equivalent. We said that there was 25% of words of 25% of answers or problems that have that word in it. That trick cannot be used with this because when we use that trick, it's saying that if we solve it, we're going to get one answer. Or we're going to get one expression, but there's no equal sign in the answer choices. It's just one big expression with plus and minus signs. Yes.
What if we solve this one?
You can. All right, so here we go. So you can you let me concentrate on what I need to say? Thank you. Okay, so look at your answer choices. All of your answer choice have what on one side of the inequality? A y. And that y is what? By itself, right? So they're technically, quote unquote, solve for y. Look at the, let me just scroll back up. What we had just done with this, you had an x and it was, once it was solved, you got just one number. Everybody see that? So what did we do? We plugged in that one number. We're going to use the same strategy, but this time we're plugging in a whole equation, It's just a lot bigger. It looks a lot messier, but it's the same strategy. You're plugging in the whole, and you don't have, the good thing about this is that you're not going to have to put parentheses, but I'm just trying to show you, this is everything that we're going to type in. We're going to store all of this for y. We're going to type all of this and press store y. Okay. So that way the calculator plugs it in for us where we have that y. Okay. Everybody understand what's going on?
Yeah.
Or do I need to explain it? Okay.
What about X?
Well, it's going to store it. So here we go. Let's try this and then I'll show you essentially what's going on behind the scenes, Angel. So let's type in the 7 over 2x. 7 over 2x plus 8. Store it, all of that as your y, alpha 1. Okay, because they're what? Equivalent. And I told you to use, instead of inequalities, to use an equal sign first. So they're equivalent, equal. Equivalent means equal. Okay, now I'm going to type in that 7x minus 2y, second math. This one, no, yeah, go ahead and use your equal sign, equals 8. Press enter. What do you get? Okay, this one gives a 0. Equals 0, so not it. Let's try the next one. You're going to store the whole equation. So negative 2 over 7 x plus, I see some of us just standing watching me type this in. I would appreciate if you did this with me. That way I know you're practicing. All right, That's my next equation, but then I have this. And what do we get? 0. Oh, Lord. It's gonna be a long day, right? Let's try one more. Alpha y equals 7/2. X plus 4. Store that. Oh, you said minus, my bad. -4. Thank you for trying to make me throw in a incorrect answer in my video. And that one gives us what? Equals 1. So our correct answer is H. So behind the scenes, you don't have to write this down, but Angel was wanting to know what happens to the X. Behind the scenes, this is what's going on. We're switching all of this. I need you to look up all of this for the Y because they're what? Equivalent. So I'm taking the Y and I'm swapping it out with not just an X, I'm swapping it out with the whole equation. So it becomes 7x minus 2 times 7/2 x plus 8 equals 8. Okay. And what does that look like? Where am I at? That. So you, once again, you can use this if you know how to substitute those in. I would rather you understand or know that you can store a whole equation and not just one number. Okay. All right. For some people, they see it this way. If you say you have a 5 in this spot, right? Y is equal to 5. What would you be able to do? Put a 5 in this spot because Y is equal to 5. You see it? It's just a lot messier because you have more numbers, you have more variables. All right, open up to the next page.
Okay, you said we don't use our inequality until we have 2 ones. We can use y equals until, I mean, not y equals. We can use the equal sign until, like, if it has an
Use the
inequality.
equal sign, and if you get 2 ones, then you switch to the inequality. But using the equal sign is going to get you the answer 9 out of 10 times, 9.5 out of 10 times. So here we go. Systems. We kind of briefly went over, Jason, systems yesterday at the very, very end of class. We didn't actually get to go into it, but whenever you have 2 equations in standard form, and I haven't seen it in the past 5 years, I've been teaching 6. So it's been that long since they've given us one that's this easy, okay? But this is how you would solve it. If and only if you have the X and the Y on the same side of the equal sign. That represents a system that's in standard form. And if it's in standard form, what calculator method? Standard form. The calculator method that we use to solve this is matrix. Get your head up. Matrix, okay? Now, when we use matrix, the only thing that we're actually using are the coefficients, just the numbers. But we do have to make sure that the X and the Y are on the same side of the equal sign and that they're in the correct spot. X on the left, Y on the right, okay? So you have your steps for matrix right here. You have a foldable that has it in picture form if you need to see the picture. Clear that out. Let's go to matrix. We always start at edit, start from the end, work your way forward. We have 2 rows with 3 numbers each. So 2 times 3. So 2, enter, 3, enter. And then you're going to type in your coefficients. Notice there are no variables in this screen. Everybody good? Or does anybody have to actually type the numbers? Because I think most of the calculators have been used by
I
now.
do, because they didn't put the negative.
Oh, Lord.
It's positive 21, positive 7.
Well, that person got it wrong then. Now, go ahead and take the time to highlight step 4 if you're already done putting your numbers in. This is the most missed step. That is the most missed step. Most people, if you get it wrong or if you can't remember how to finish up matrix, is because you're forgetting to press second quit. So second quit. From there, go back into matrix. We already went to edit. So now we're going to go to math. What do we look for in math? BREF, the one with 2 R's. If you forget it's B, look for the one with 2 R's. Press enter one time. Second matrix, enter, enter. And these are the numbers that we get. So let's write those down. So in the top row, you should have, ooh, thought I had my pen. Top row, you should have gotten 1, negative 1.75, 0, and then 0, 0, 1. So very, very first thing you want to do is you want to look at that bottom row before you decide that you're going to keep the ordered pair. If your very bottom row has either a 0, 0, 1 or a 0, 0, 0, it's a special case. What does a 0, 0, 1 represent?
Undefined.
No,
Oh, infinite solution.
no. Other one.
What did you say?
What's the other option? I think I heard it. No solution. And if there's no solution, that means that the 2 lines will not cross. What kind of lines do not cross?
Parallel line.
Parallel lines. So I'm going to write the word parallel, just because the answer choice might include that word. Now, the way I remember that the second one is infinite solutions. Let's go ahead and write that down. Infinite solutions. I tell myself, if it's 0 now, it'll be 0 tomorrow, it'll be 0 the next day, it'll be 0 infinite amount of times. It's always going to be 0 infinite amount of times, okay? Now, other than that, if you do not see a 0, 0, 1 or a 0, 0, 0, you keep the numbers at the very end, meaning, and they will represent your X on the top and your Y on the bottom. So you would keep the 0, 1, but we're not going to do that because we did get 0, 0, 1. It could be a 2 and a 3, and it's ordered pair 2, 3. That's where they cross. Okay, questions? All right. Last one. There's an easy way to do this. There's a hard way to do this. It all depends on the answer choices you're given. Okay, but go ahead and write this down. There will be a 95% chance. There will be a 95% chance that you're going to get a mixed type of equation. You're going to get 2 equations in a solution, in a system of equations, but one of them is going to be in standard form, while the other one is either going to be solved for Y or solved for X. Now, the difficulty of this problem all depends on the answer choices, okay? So we're going to write those answer choices here at the bottom. If your answer choice, I'm going to write F, G, H, J. If your answer choices give you the whole ordered pairs, meaning 6, 7, 233, 7, 6, 6, or 33, 2. If you're given the whole ordered pair, this is the easier version of being able to solve this system. Why? Because the 6 represents what value? So I could store it for X. The 7 represents what? So I could store it for Y. And I would test, but when you test it, I'm going to write the word test. When you test it in your home screen, you're going to have to test both equations, okay? You're going to have to test both equations. So let's start with that very first answer choice. I'm going to plug in my 6 and plug in my 7. So 6 is going to go in for X, store the 6 as an X, and then store the 7, 7 as a Y. Are we good so far? Are we good on why we're doing that part? All right, now we have to actually test it into the equation. We're going to do it into the first equation. And my first equation is going to be 10x minus y equals 53. 10x minus y equals 53. Press enter and you get what? 1. So the very first one, the very first equation gave you a 1. Looking good so far. Now I got to test the second equation. You have to test both equations, okay? Which is y, so alpha 1, y equals, and now you have a fraction, so alpha y equals, that sucks, negative. The good part about this is that you only have to type these equations in one time because you can always highlight it. All right, everybody got your 13x plus 92 over 2? Press enter, what do you get? 1. So when you get two 1s, meaning it fits in both equations, that is your answer. For this next part, you can just watch, but I want to show you what a wrong answer would look like. And I want to show you why you have to do both equations. The next one, I'm just going to clear this out. The ordered pair is 2. So I'm going to store the 2 as an X, and I'm going to store the 33 as a Y. I'm going to test the first point or the first equation, which is that one, and you get a 0. So it's not looking good. And then I'm going to test the second one. Enter. And that one gives you a what? A 1. You might run into, if you're given any kind of 0, that's the wrong answer. You might run into a situation where you get a 1 in the first equation, and a lot of people want to jump the gun and say, oh, well, that's my answer, but then get a 0 in the second, or are supposed to get a 0 if they try to the second one. So make sure you try both, you test both equations. But I did go ahead and I tested the last two, and they all gave us 0 and 0. So you can go ahead and type or write that in. So not it, not it, not it. Now, that's the easier one. The harder one is when your answer choices are only giving you one of the numbers, one of the values. So we're going to write it that way just in case. And I'm saying just in case because it's actually going to come up on your packet. So there are some questions where they only give you one of the numbers, 6, 2, 7, 33. And we already know that the first one is our correct answer, so it's not going to take long to go through this. But it'll ask you, what is the value of X? You'll know that one of the, or the reason that you know you're going to have to combine both equations into one is because it's you're only going to be given one number instead of the whole ordered pair. So let's do that. Let's practice doing that. Once again, we're going to have to take this equation and plug it into the first one. You're going to have to combine them. You're going to have one where it's solved for Y, or it'll also say X equals, and you're going to have to either put it in for X or put it in there for Y. It's the same as having Y is equal to a 5. So what do I change this Y to? A 5. It looks messier because we have a fraction, right? So let's plug it in. You're combining two equations and creating one. So instead of writing my Y this time, instead of having 10x minus Y, I'm going to have 10x minus 13x plus 92 over 2. Okay. And now we can test the points. Now that we have just one equation, we can test it. So the very first answer choice gives me, what in the world? Y'all see that?
Yeah.
That's not cool. The very first answer choice is what? A 6. I'm going to clear this out. I'm actually going to cover it up because now it looks messy. The very first answer choice is a 6, and that 6 represents a what? X value. And you know it represents an X value because what's left in the equation? Just an X. You see that? There's X's, but there's no more Y's because we combined them. Let me see if I minimize that. Will that work? Nope, didn't work. Oh, well. Press enter. Now you have to type in that equation, 10x minus, Use your parentheses, alpha y equals negative 13x. Yes, question? This is what we did in intervention, correct? And then second math, enter with your 53 at the very end. Press enter. And that one's the one that gives you a 1. Okay. So F is our correct answer. Oh. F is the one that gives you the 1, and F is our correct answer. The other ones are going to give you a 0. So those are the wrong answer choices. You store the 6 as an X because you realize that you look and you notice that X, once you combine your equations, X is the only variable left. So these all represent possible X's, possible X values. And I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to hear somebody snoring in my video.